A UK-based organization says the world's 48 poorest countries need nearly $1 trillion in the next decade to achieve their plans to tackle climate change. The International Institute for Environment and Development says these nations require some $93 billion annually from 2020 to 2030 to reduce emissions and deal with more extreme weather and rising sea levels. A colossal amount of money is needed to help the poor countries to shift to renewables and cleaner public transport. This comes as over 100 world leaders will convene in Paris on Monday to open 2 weeks of intense negotiations aimed at signing a deal that could begin to avert the most devastating effects of global warming. Thousands of people have held rallies worldwide to call for global action on climate change ahead of an upcoming climate summit in Paris.
We've got to push through the Paris meeting and push beyond the Paris meeting to close down the polluting coal-fired power plants, close down the fossil fuel infrastructure as quickly as we humanly can.
Demonstrators demanded a legally binding agreement by world leaders to curb carbon emissions. They also called for more commitment to renewable energy. Rallies were held in various countries, including Britain, Chile, Spain, Australia, and Italy. During the Paris summit, world leaders will attempt to reach the first truly universal climate pact. The goal is to limit average global warming to 2 degrees Celsius.
Thousands of protesters marched through London demanding urgent action on climate change ahead of a UN summit, hailed as being an historic event. Over 100 world leaders are due to attend the Paris summit. Their aim is to reach a landmark deal on limiting carbon emissions. Demonstrators here are hoping to put pressure on the governments to ensure a meaningful agreement is reached.
We have a global crisis and we need a global solution to it, and one in which the richest countries in the world need to do their fair share of action. And our government here in the UK is letting us down. We're the only G7 country to be boosting tax breaks for fossil fuels and cutting support for renewable energy.
According to the World Bank, in the first 8 months of 2015, the world has seen more than 150 climate-related disasters.
It's affecting both the developed and the developing world, but developing world is getting affected much worse because the direct impacts are worse.
Scientists have warned failure to tackle the problem could result in floods, typhoons and droughts, making the world increasingly inhospitable to human life.
It's the poorest people around the world who are being hit by climate change first and hardest. We're seeing people in the continent of Africa, in Latin America, in some of the highest places of the world where the glaciers are melting, and we're seeing people being displaced who already have great hardships in their lives.
Activists say change needs to happen faster, highlighting the role of people in helping their governments to reduce the amount of gas emissions. Faiza Ahmed, Press TV, London.